Welcome to twoquestions.tv. With me today is Shaz Kahng, and we're talking about the challenges of being a woman in business. Welcome to twoquestions.tv. I'm Susan Baroncini-Moe. Joining me today is Shaz Kahng, a chief executive who has led teams in a few male-dominated industries. She was a senior executive at Nike and CEO of Lucy Activewear, my favorite. She's also the author of The Closer, which is a novel that we're going to talk about today. Hi, Shaz. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Susan. Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm so glad you're here. I really liked your book, and it was such a pleasure to read it because, you know, I spend so much time reading business books that having a book that was a novel was so great.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Oh, such a breath of fresh air, and so nice to have something that was just, it was like relaxing and yet also not, because the main character of your book, Vivian, goes through so many things. And it is a story of triumph, but I probably, everyone's going to ask you this, probably everyone already has, but I have to ask, how much was autobiographical? I just kept thinking, oh my God, did Shaz go through this? Oh no.
Well, definitely, I think they always say, write what you know. And so a lot of my experiences in business were they informed the writing of the fiction novel, but it is fiction. So, you know, the story is really made up, but the characters are kind of composites of some people that I've worked with. And actually there were some specific experiences that I encountered that did end up in the book as well.
I should probably note for our viewers, since Gus just stood up, he's here, he's joining us for this interview. Don't try to be the star of the show, bud. All right. So these things that happened, I mean, I'm assuming, you know, even though, you know, some of this is made up and all of that, I mean, is this super common for men to behave? Let's describe a little bit of what happened so our viewers know, because they're probably still waiting for their book to arrive. So what are some of the things that happen, and are these things super common at these levels?
Well, I think being a female senior executive in a very male-dominated industry, you know, you just encounter things that you don't normally in an industry that's a little bit more diverse, you know, gender-wise.
Right.
And actually part of the reason why I wrote this book was because all of the fiction novels that I was reading about female business leaders, they always portrayed the female business leader as, you know, evil or diabolical or, you know, trying to crush the careers of other women. And I thought, I personally know so many amazing, smart, talented women who are so positive, you know, and they're doing a lot of wonderful things. And I just thought, why isn't anybody writing about them or writing for them? So it was interesting because I started to have female senior executives read my book, and they were kind of beta testing, beta readers, and they were saying, I haven't read anything like this, and, you know, it's so refreshing. So that was really what I was trying to achieve. But yeah, I mean, an example, this actually didn't make it into the book, but I was running the Nike cycling business globally. And that year I went to the Tour de France, which started in London. And they had a special, they told me at the last minute, oh, you know, it's for VIPs, you have to go to this party. It was at the National Gallery. So they closed the National Gallery and they had a cocktail hour followed by a dinner. So I was probably the only female business person there. And I was, you know, looking at the art, and then this guy came up behind me and he said, oh, you know, he said, are you here with a date? And I said, no, I'm here for work. And he said, oh, okay. Oh, you must be with the catering staff.
Yes. And that happened in the book.
Sorry.
It did.
Yeah. And I said, actually, I am, you know, with the catering staff. And I talked about the hors d'oeuvres, and I said, I need to, you know, get back to the kitchen now. But so things like that happened. And I was actually sharing an experience the other day with somebody where, you know, I was at, you know, a company, and it was all men in the senior executive group. And this also ended up in the book. And I realized pretty quickly, it was a staff meeting, and I realized within the first, you know, probably 6 minutes, people were talking about this party. And one of the guys had a party, and he invited all of the other guys. And I was the only person not invited to the party. And I was really shocked. I thought, this is, it's just so strange. I mean, it's so unwelcoming towards
Yeah.
women. So that was that was a surprise. So things like that I thought were really unusual, I tried to incorporate in the book.
Yeah. I found this, it's interesting because it's unusual for me to actually see business lessons in a book. And there were so many really lovely leadership moments.
Mm.
And I took notes and I thought, oh, okay, I'm marking this page. This is a great moment. This is a wonderful way to be as a leader. And I loved that part of it because, you read fiction, you don't often learn lessons or valuable business knowledge from that. And so that was really lovely. And I did find inspiration in the concept of the ceiling smashers because I thought, how do we help women? How do we coalesce and come together for women who are going through this kind of thing? Because none of us should experience this and be alone. None of us should experience it, period. But if this is going to happen and if there are going to be things like this, the reality is there are going to be some people who are going to sabotage and are going to make it difficult. And however much in an ideal world, we don't want that to happen, there are going to be times when it does. So how do we help those women? What do we do?
Right. Yeah. I mean, so one of the aspects of the book that I was trying to portray also was just, some positivity and really women helping women succeed. And I think, a lot of women have kind of an informal network of women that they can turn to for, advice or empathy or just, to get somebody else's thoughts on how to handle a situation. And so I was really trying to establish that because I actually have a group of people like that, and there are men in the group as well. But I think, the more women can help each other, the more we'll all rise and make it, easy for everybody. And, even when I was at Nike, I was saying there was a women's group and it was just, the top women. So there were, I think maybe, 10 to 12 of us, and we were getting together for drinks every other month, I think. And so the first couple of times I said, this is great. And then the third time, or before the third time, I said, so what are we trying to do here? And they said, well, we're just, we're networking. And I said, we don't need to network because there's so few of us. So we already know each other. So I said, well, what are we doing for the other women in the organization? And they said, well, what do you mean? And I said, well, why don't we pick, a couple of highly talented women that we want deeper in the organization that we want to mentor and bring.
Yes.
Yeah. And it was interesting because a couple of the women said, it was already so difficult for us to get here. Why should we make it easier for other people? And I was really surprised by that. And I thought the whole point is, it was difficult to get here. So let's make it easier for other women. And I'm seeing a shift now where I see more women helping other women. So I think that's a great sign.
Yeah. I love that. Well, wonderful book. I'm so glad for it and definitely happy to have you on the show. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you. Well, it's my pleasure.
Would you like to join me on the after show?
Sure.
Okay, we'll see what happens with Gus, but okay, we'll try that.
He's feeling better.
A little bit, yeah. He's waking up. All right. This is real life, people. All right. So viewers, if you'd like to join us for the after show, come to twoquestions.tv. That's where we'll be. That's our URL. That's the only place you can find the after show. So twoquestions.tv. And in the meantime, here's the book, The Closer. Now, we're going to have a link down below in the show notes so you can get your copy from Amazon. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.